What is up, nation? Today let's talk Nintendo Direct. Alright everyone, we got a lot of exciting information to talk about surrounding Nintendo Direct and the most likely upcoming event that we're going to see somewhere in the window of August 11th through the 22nd. Now, this rumor comes from a gentleman by the name of Jeff Grubb, who, if you're not familiar, is real popular on Twitter and has been spot on so many predictions when it comes to things like predicting Nintendo Directs and other gaming related events. So he's an insider in the industry and he definitely has knowledge of when these things drop. So he recently updated Twitter with a thing that he calls Summer Games Mess, and he's basically saying the timeline of when the different gaming companies are holding their events, and he recently added Nintendo in the window of August 11th to August 22nd. So we do know to maybe expect it in that window. It's obviously not confirmed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it. I do actually believe this rumor 100%, because if you think about it logically, we're 338 days, I believe, since the last Nintendo Direct, which is basic mainline Direct, I should say. That's basically the longest they've ever gone without a main games showcase. And we're also finishing up this E3, what would have been E3 2020 window of this year, and we don't know anything of what Nintendo is planning for the next third quarter, fourth quarter of this year, which is obviously ties into holiday season. So we know we're going to see some big releases to come, and it just makes sense for Nintendo to put it together in a Direct. All we've had up to this point is like Paper Mario Origami King just recently came out, and then they also dropped Pikmin 3 on a Twitter drop. But outside of that, we don't know what they're planning for the rest of the year. There's certain games that we know that are in development right now, and we're going to dive into some of that and talk about it right now. And really, this video is going to be focused on what I think we're most likely to see coming in this Nintendo Direct, and then hopefully what games we have to look forward for the rest of this year, and then also going forward into 2021. So the first and most heavily rumored game that we're going to talk about and that we're most likely to see at this Nintendo Direct that we're expecting to happen in August is actually Mario's 35th Anniversary Collection. Now, there has been a bunch of information about this game potentially being in the works. We don't have any official, screenshots, gameplay, or actual leaks that it's in development, but a bunch of industry insiders have reported that this is most likely going to be a project for them. Now, we don't know what to expect as far as if we're going to see multiple cartridges for this game, or if it's going to be all the 3D Marios in one cartridge. I really think that Nintendo's probably going to break it up in at least two. Maybe we see, Mario 64, Mario Sunshine on one cartridge, and then we get like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the other cartridge. There's even Mario 3D Land as a rumor for that to be included, but who knows if that might get its own separate release. It was a Wii U title, so it's definitely more recent out of the other bunch, so that one's already been made in HD, although I'm sure it will get a graphical bump on the Switch. It's not going to be as drastic of a difference as what we would see on the remasters on the other titles, and I'd really love to know what you guys are most excited about as far as an HD remaster. Mine's definitely going to be Mario 64. I hope we don't just get a bump in resolution, but a true remake or remaster from the ground up, where we truly see new textures, new character models, and things like that. I think Mario 64 is one of the most exciting worlds, and of course, I'm speaking from a very nostalgic place of playing that game as a kid, but that being said, I do think that it's a great game that a bunch of people have probably missed out on at this point, especially with how successful the Switch is right now. We could open up a whole new couple generations into games to either revisit or to play for the first time. And then you have a game like Sunshine, where if they really did it right and maybe tweaked a few of the mechanics, I think Sunshine's probably one of the most difficult Mario games, especially in terms of trying to be a completionist with it and get all of the shine sprites. I mean, they have some ridiculous platforming in that game that's very precision based. So really would love to see, if they don't tweak the difficulty, but maybe just refine a couple of the mechanics. Sunshine tends to be a more divisive title. Some fans were, super fans of it and loved the game, and other ones not so much. So I personally was a fan of Sunshine. I do think that some of the mechanics were just a little bit wonky. It was their first time doing anything with Mario as far as an accessory, I guess you could say, to his regular jump abilities, where he had a water pack for the whole game. Some fans loved it, some fans didn't. I still think they did a great job of balancing the platforming challenge in that, so I would love to see that get a full HD remaster. And then obviously Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 would just look completely beautiful on the Switch in HD. So I really am excited about these titles. I certainly hope that we do see them at the Direct, and I think that you can put this down as your number one most likely to see at this August Nintendo Direct, because September is the 35th anniversary of Mario, so I think we're going to see it launch then, and this is probably going to be the first game of many to come for the fourth quarter and kind of the holiday season as we approach that. And I think that they're going to want to launch this in with that 35th anniversary. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we see this launched, and then again we might even get a bonus with Mario 3D Land being put in there. And if they really want to do all the 3D Marios, they probably will include that. So, but it remains to be seen on what to expect as far as if we're buying multiple $60 games to get this, or are they really going to give us a real Christmas present and put them all in one cartridge for $60, because that is a ridiculous amount of gameplay for $60 if they do that. So let's wait and see what happens with Mario. The next game that I think it's actually possible that we do see some other information, let's say, not necessarily a solid release date, but maybe a release window and a new updated trailer. I would love us to see some kind of update on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Breath of the Wild, because it's been over a full year since we got the initial launch trailer. We never got a time window on when to expect it to come out. We do know that they're using the same engine as the original Breath of the Wild, so that obviously is a leg up for the development timeline and time cycle and things like that. So we know that they're going to be reusing a lot of the same character base, and they're going to be changing Hyrule quite a bit, but we're probably going to see similar enemies and NPC styles, and then also just the same world but moved around maybe, and put I don't know if we're going forward in time or backwards in time, like who knows what they're going to do with the story, but I'm sure they're going to make it fresh and new. But it's also like they have the starting point and they don't have to build the thing from the ground up. So I think it'll be somewhat similar to where on Ocarina of Time, if you go to Majora's Mask, those games have the same kind of overall world or the same engine, but it's just set in a different setting. So with that said, I wouldn't be surprised if we are close enough to get another trailer or look into the game. My personal prediction is that it'll probably launch with the 35th anniversary of Zelda, or at least in that year, which is 2021. Fingers crossed we'll see it as a March release, but due to the real world pandemic going on right now, there's no telling on that it might get pushed to the back of 2021, but that remains to be seen. What I would expect though at this trailer is some form of an update on the development timeline, so fans know what to expect, because I think they're really going to want to hype up that game as it comes into its closer and closer to its release. And then we did see a rumor not even 2 weeks back where we got confirmation that the character voiceover actors for international characters were done voicing their parts for that game, and that's typically something you start to do towards the back half of development or towards more of the end of development even. So we might be closer than what we think on Breath of the Wild 2. The only reason I don't think it's a holiday 2020 game is I think with something that big, Nintendo's probably going to give it a full 6 to 9 months of PR and promotion to ramp up to it, and so I think that we're going to see a big push for that title, because with how well Breath of the Wild 1 sold on the Switch, I think they're really expecting to capitalize on all of that audience to get the sequel. So I don't think we're seeing that for the 2020 release. However, I do think it's a very high potential that we could at least see it talked about in this August Direct. And the next game I think that we could possibly see at this Direct, and this is definitely at the top of my list for maybe even if we just get a glimpse of what the world looks like, I would love it if Nintendo provides us with some inside look into Metroid Prime 4 and where they're at with the development of this game. Obviously, it's had a rocky development, a rocky release. They literally scrapped the title 2 years into development and restarted it, so we all know the story on that. But we know it's been so long now since they've even done that restart point, and we haven't seen anything else about the game. So I think it's a perfect time to get Metroid fans hyped up. So what I would love to see, if Nintendo could possibly show us what maybe the world of Metroid Prime 4 looks like in a short trailer, and get the fans hyped up for maybe it's hopefully early 2021 or end of 2021 release, but then to hold over fans, the heavily rumored Metroid Prime Trilogy Switch Edition would be a great thing to bring to the table right now. I think if they release that Metroid Prime Trilogy Edition right around the holiday window of 2020, they could clean house with numbers. I mean, that you're really talking about a franchise that's near and dear to so many hardcore Nintendo fans' heart, but then you also have this entire new group of players that probably have never even touched those games. And so to have all 3 of them on the Switch available near the holiday season, and everybody knowing Samus so well now due to her exposure in like Smash Bros and things like that, you know, we're expecting I would just say huge sales numbers if they really did release that around this Q4 window. And then we also know that game was rumored whenever we saw Metroid Prime 4 initial trailer drop a while back. So it's totally possible that that's a finished title that Nintendo's just sitting on ready to go, and they've been holding off the release just until we get closer to the finish of Metroid Prime 4. So let's see if we see that. I certainly hope we do. That would be a top seller and a day one pickup for me in my book. Now that does it for the 3D Metroid rumors, but we actually have 2D Metroid rumors as well. So we may see something that's a side-scroller, the more classic style of Metroid talked about at this event. Obviously, Nintendo has historically released on 2 different consoles, both the DS line or their handhelds back in the day, like the Game Boy, as well as their mainline console. Now, we're expecting the Prime games to kind of take the place of the mainline console game, but since the Switch is obviously a hybrid system, we're still expecting to potentially see a 2D release. We haven't seen one since Samus Returns on the 3DS, which has been quite a while now. I want to say that came out in 2017, so we're quite a few years out. Now, Metroid definitely has the long history of just having gaps in when they actually release games for it, but we can see a lot of fan interest in this title and in this franchise, so I think that we could potentially see a 2D Metroid pop up at this event. The most heavily rumored game that it could be is a Super Metroid remake, which I think would do huge numbers. It's definitely got the nostalgia factor for all the old school hardcore Nintendo fans, myself included. But let's hope that we maybe see a Super Metroid re-release or a remake, or maybe even we just see something entirely new. I wouldn't be opposed to them just doing a completely new project like we saw Metroid Fusion back in the day on Game Boy Advance. So, you know, if it's something like that, I think that would be a great direction to go as well. But there is a heavily circulated rumor that we're going to see potentially a 2D Metroid at this event. Now, will we see all 2D and 3D talked about in the same one? Probably not. I think that we're going to get one or the other. I don't think we're going to get both, because I can't see them releasing, you know, or talking about 3 different Metroid games at the same event. Maybe we get lucky and they do give us all that information, but we're more than likely going to get, you know, maybe either the Prime 4 and the trilogy release, or the 2D remake by itself, and then maybe we don't find out about the release window of the Prime game. So let's keep it tuned for that. I'm definitely hoping to see a lot of Metroid at this event, so let's keep our fingers crossed. The last couple games that we're potentially expecting to see at this event is Bayonetta 3. It's been quite a while since we've heard any kind of status update on its development. We know it should be nearing completion. And then No More Heroes 3 is another one that we're expecting to be around the corner and could most likely be featured at this Nintendo event. Now, in terms of when's the most likely date that we're going to see this fall in between the 11th and the 22nd, there's one rumor circulating right now due to some Nintendo Online maintenance. They actually have online maintenance scheduled for the 19th of this month. It could mean nothing, but historically Nintendo has done some updates to their eShop before a major event, so that way they can add like the coming soon games and different, you know, they might be tweaking some functionality. We might be getting new Nintendo Switch Online games. There could be a lot of major changes that happen, and due to them scheduling that maintenance on the 19th, a lot of fans are speculating that maybe that's the day that we're going to see it. I'm personally in that camp. It is on a Wednesday. I think it's totally possible that we will see it come August 19th, so let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that that is the date. But with that, I'm going to end the video here, but I did want to leave you guys with a final question. I would love to know, what are you most excited about in terms of this Nintendo Direct event? What do you think we're going to see and maybe we're not going to see? What do you think on this list that we've talked about that's totally not realistic, or maybe, you know, you're expecting a different game that we didn't talk about to show up at the event? I'd love to get a back and forth conversation started with you all. I will reply to all the comments on my videos, and then I did want to invite everybody just quickly to join Sunbro Nation today. If you haven't already, do so by hitting the subscribe button below, turn on the bell notification so you're notified when new uploads go live, and then hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave you here. You guys have a great day. Sunbro Nation out.